Hello, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here and part of the YEW conference this year. Thank you very much to Stelios and team for putting on such an incredible event. My name is Wendy Howell, and I'm the CEO of Executive Council Network. And it is my honor to introduce our next speaker. I think that you will find this session to be absolutely fascinating. We're lucky enough to have Ben Fairbank with us today, founder and CEO of RFOX. They are building some incredible things in the metaverse that he will tell us all about. And what he's going to focus on is really from idea to marketplace. How do you take that idea from concept and actually get it straightforward to the marketplace? And what his company RFOX has done is an absolutely amazing example of that. So Ben, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll pop back on in about 25 minutes, and we can do some wrap-ups and key takeaways and answer any questions that the audience may have.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. As stated, I'm Ben Fairbank. I'm the CEO and co-founder of RFOX. We're a metaverse builder. So we began our journey approximately 4 years ago, sat down and designed how we would build a metaverse, what it would look like, what it would entail. And so we started pretty much from zero, from nowhere, which is what the topic is tonight, and sat down and thought, where is the market going? What will happen with VR and metaverses in the future? Which companies will play in this space? And how do we build companies and products in the 4 fastest growing sectors of the internet economy? To do that, we moved to Vietnam. We saw that it had the same type of GDP growth as China over 7-year plus period. And so we really went to a country that was quite challenging, but had a great technical base, gave us access to the Southeast Asian market, which is a very deep well. And then we sat down and started doing exactly what we're going to talk about tonight, and thought, how do we take this idea, especially an idea that nobody can really visualize, into a fully blown product and a group of products. The biggest challenge for us was building products that were across 5 or 6 different industry sectors, which required a lot of expertise, building on new technology, and also coupled with the fact that we would also be combining all of those things together and trying to get the timings right, which has been a very interesting thing. We've had COVID to contend with as well. And I'm sure many of you that are out there have seen the world change dramatically over the last couple of years. So today we're going to talk about how to take that, take an idea and turn it into something that you can use. And obviously ours is a classic example in RFOX of taking something that is very elaborate and a lot of people sort of questioning, and how to get it to a point where it's actually in the market and in people's hands. And for a lot of you, the journey might be a little bit easier, but let's hopefully give you some insights today on what you should be looking for. So how to take the idea from a concept to market. So the most important thing when you're taking that concept from idea to market, believe it or not, good ideas are a dime a dozen. People continually say, I've got a great idea. I know how to turn something into a great product and get heaps of people to use it. Lots of people have great ideas. Ideas are definitely in abundance, and the hardest part is the ability to be able to execute that. So it's the first step. Of course, you need to have a relatively good idea, but everybody has them. The ability to sell the vision of an idea and to motivate individuals. And the reason we say that's paramount to ongoing success is because if I can't get a group of people to follow me, I can't get a group of people to buy into the vision that we have, then it's never going to get built. And when you're first talking about something, especially if it is a vision, if I'm trying to build a different type of a car, people know what a car is. If I'm trying to build something that's on the bleeding edge of technology and something that's quite complicated, I have to be able to sell how it makes sense to those people and how they can be part of that vision and that part of that idea. So it's really hard to get motivated individuals behind something, but once you've been able to sell that idea and that vision, that is the first step. The other thing that you've got to do is got to understand, does your product solve a problem? And is it faster, stronger, or cheaper and more accessible than what already exists? So you hear this said all the time. It sounds a little bit cliche, but the thing is that people are not going to stop using what they currently use and switch to something else unless there's a benefit in it for them or it solves a problem. And it could be that it's something that reaches some place that's hard to reach. It could be that it solves a pain point or makes something a lot cheaper. There's a lot of things that we do that are laborious, especially in the technology field that I'm working in. And it's a space race to who can make it faster, who can make it cheaper and become more competitive. So like I say, having the great idea, then the ability to sell that vision, and then to make sure that that idea actually solves a problem. And this is important as well from the investor perspective, because investors don't like to put money into or back your venture if it doesn't provide that solution to a problem and it doesn't provide any value add that doesn't already exist. So that's extremely important. Timing and business intelligence are key factors in cultivating the idea. So they always say you've got to do a lot of market research before you go to market. It's extremely important not only to do the research before you launch a product or start building it, because otherwise you are going to go down the wrong path. So unless you know what people are actually after, or whether you are solving a problem, or whether you can provide that better solution, don't go down that path until you've gone through and done a heap of research first. That research should not stop at the time the product goes to market. That should be the point where it really ramps up. Once it goes to market, you've got to understand why people are using it, how long they're using it for, where they're from. You need to understand the audience. You'll hear the saying, understand your audience, a lot. It's extremely important that you are taking into consideration their feedback, but more importantly, having a look at the data and having a look at what the data says. If I ask a group of people what they think of something, they'll tell me an answer, and it might be what they think I want to hear. It might not be a good day for those people. They might give me some information that is biased or reflective of their current mood or situation. But the data will show me exactly how they act when certain things happen to them, when they get to certain points. And so we spend a lot of time on building out life cycle maps and touch points. And it's really important to know that if a person rings you and has a problem with a payment, that there is a 76% chance of leaving. If they ring you and ask for an upsell of a product, or they want to upgrade and you're unable to provide that for them, that there are 45% chance of going to a competitor. So business intelligence remains extremely important on an ongoing basis. And the timing of when to take it to the market is also important. So again, 4 years ago, when we sat down and said, hey, we want to do a metaverse, we couldn't even explain it as a metaverse. We had to say we're venture building, we're building multiple products and services that will all click into a central platform. Zuckerberg's come out from Facebook and said we're changing our business name to Meta 6 months or so ago. So it was the perfect timing for us to sort of accelerate, capitalize on the momentum in the market of what he was explaining, which is exactly what we were doing. And that timing became crucial. And that's why we're really pushing to get our products to market now. So timing, very, very crucial. This is a great quote from Reid Hoffman, who was the founder of LinkedIn. And he says, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. There's great books like The Launchpad, the Y Combinator book, that talk about projects that keep launching with a line of code to their friends and family to see if there's a product market fit before they really spend too much time and effort on trying to make it pretty. You do not want to go too far down the track before you launch. It is important just to get that basic working concept into people's hands, and then judge the reactions, see whether you've got that product market fit. So a dirty MVP with basic functionality tested on a group of friends and family, it's exactly what we're saying, is the best way to test. So you'll hear about a lot of products. And again, if you read the Y Combinator book, you'll hear of products that went to market, were being tested by friends and family. And based on the feedback that they were given, they completely scrapped their original plan or product and molded or changed that and became companies like Snapchats of the world. And this was all spawned from going down the wrong path originally, or not having quite the right product for the market. So a dirty MVP, and by that I mean it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles. It doesn't have to, if you're launching a streaming platform or a video sharing platform, you don't have to just put out something that looks like Netflix on day one. You can actually go out with something that is functional, that serves a purpose, and you've got to understand, again, what your audience is, what they're interested in, and you can add functionality and you can improve the user interfaces once you've proven that there's a product market fit. Once you go through and hit those inflection points, then scale. So engagement, usage, the features and benefits that appeal to end users provide the basic data that will help steer the early iterations. So again, we're going out next week, for example, with a MVP, which is what I would consider a very dirty MVP of a metaverse. We're early to the metaverse space. It's in VR, it is on multiple chains, and we're going out with a product that a lot of people might not understand at first. They don't know what it is that's going to bring them back again and again. Some people will go there to shop. Some people will go there to socialize. What we're going to do is look at that data, look at the usage, look at the engagement, and what features and benefits people are attracted to, because that helps us to work out what to focus on next, and it helps us to steer those early iterations. And we might think that our platform is going to be really suited to retail and e-commerce, and we might find that a lot of people come in and they use it as a social platform. They use it to do their meetings and to have office meetings and updates, catch-ups, meeting of fans, talking about new ideas. And what we've got to do is be in a position where we can capture that data, build on what's actually transpiring, and make sure that we're capitalizing on what's best for our products and our company. Then again, listening to feedback and understanding data. The product or service, again, as stated before, might not be used for its intended use. And we've seen many social platforms be born out of the intent of being something else, and they've become that social platform. Customers and users will always have great ideas for enhancements or things that you can add. So it's extremely important that you not only collect that information, but you have a way to bucket the data and the information that's coming in and understand whether or not it's an edge use case, a request that's a bit abstract, something that's not going to provide a good return on investment. You need to be able to sort and filter the feedback that's coming through. You need to be able to work out what's easy to iterate and a higher business return and impact, and what's very difficult to implement, might not have a good return on investment and may not actually provide you something that is going to be a good return for that investment. So feedback's extremely important. Voice of customer, as it's called in the customer experience industry. Make sure that you are collecting it and you're giving that feedback to the appropriate departments in your company or the people that are responsible for working on that particular function or feature. This is why dirty MVPs are much more crucial, especially when you're talking about emerging technology. So again, if you take blockchain and take what RFOX is trying to do, because it's so early in the stage for even wallet setup's really hard at the moment. Buying cryptocurrency is really hard. Exchanging tokens, sending tokens for new people coming into the space is quite a difficult process. So it's really important that having this dirty MVP and not going too far down the track of painting yourself into a corner. What we're seeing, especially in this space as well, is we're seeing a lot of people are building very polished products. They're spending 2, 3, 4 years to get a product that does one thing and one function extremely well polished, functioning really well before they go to market. And by the time they're getting to market, what they've been spending the last 3 or 4 years on, people have moved past. It's no longer cutting edge. It's no longer emerging technology. There's been faster solutions. And a great example is there's projects in the past that have set up to do, for example, automated exchanges or cross-chain exchanges, marketplaces for token swapping. And then what you'll see is that a company like a Uniswap or PancakeSwap will come out, and they're much, much quicker to market. They're quicker to innovate. They put out very average user interfaces. And then once they get the traction, they build on that. So especially if you're working in an emerging technology field, you don't want to be too polished. You don't want to take too long to get to market. You don't want to think that you know exactly what is going to work very well. So the dirty MVP, going out there with a product that, as I said, you might look back on and say, we could have done a lot better than that. It could have been a lot better. And gosh, when we look back at where we are now to where we were when we started, it is embarrassing. And can you believe we put that out? You have to go out with proving the concept, proving the idea, establishing that product market fit. And that product market fit and those inflection points will come in time. What you need to do first and foremost is make sure that you've got the people using it, that you've taken that feedback, and the product market fit will basically show you through inflection points. So when you see the product growth and adoption of, say, for example, a gaming app, you'll see that the first few weeks they might get 10,000 downloads. And then the next week they get another 10,000, so it doubles in a week. And then the week later they're getting 20,000. And you start hitting these points of growth where you get a certain number in, it takes off, and you've all seen the hockey stick examples of parabolic growth. And what you want to do is really start making sure that you hit those inflection points before you start marketing that heavily and scaling. So again, in a new and emerging technology space like ours, for example, in crypto, you'll see that a lot of projects go out and start marketing very heavily. They've got 70, 80% of their spend goes into marketing something that hasn't yet been built or hasn't yet been released, and they fizzle out. So they become the topic of the week. They do really well for a very short period of time, and then people realize there's not a lot of substance behind it, or it's a long way away. You're better off to hold that money back that you've spent on hype-based marketing and use it to build a quality product, knowing full well that that product could change and could be subject to change. Once you've got that user base, once you've hit those inflection points, you see that it's growing, you see there's a demand, that product market fit has been established, then you worry about marketing it. And the scaling part is in relation to opening that up to different communities, different users, adding features and benefits to it. Don't try and scale or build on something that hasn't yet proven that it is, that minimum viable product has that product market fit. Otherwise, you're just going to end up spending a ton of money and forever chasing your tail, trying to recoup those costs. And we've seen during the last 2 years, especially in the down markets, we've seen lots of good business ideas with lots of good executors end up going under because they were too concerned about making it polished or too narrow in their focus. And just to give you a piece of personal advice, we've been advised a number of times over the last 4 years, don't build a metaverse. Don't build something in VR because it's been tried before and people don't like it. The technology is too young. We've also been told concentrate on one thing and get it right and be proficient at that. Don't try and build multiple tools that plug in together to form a platform. And that's purely based on a lack of understanding and a lack of us being able to sell that vision properly, because ultimately we're in a new and emerging technology field. No one knows exactly what is going to be the most trodden path and the way that people are going to go. So by providing a platform that gives everybody the tools to come along and benefit from this new technology movement, in our minds was a smart move, and in retrospect it has paid off and it has been the right thing to do. So don't also be afraid to look at data, look at getting those MVPs out and letting the product speak for themselves. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of advice for you on your business that may not have any understanding of what they're actually talking about, or try to stick you down a path that they think is helping but is not. So generally speaking, that means that you haven't got that vision articulated correctly enough for people to be able to understand yet. Okay, so that's the predominant main points that I think are worth talking about. So I'll go back over just to make sure, because it's a lot to digest. So I just will reiterate and make sure that we've gone over and you really understand the steps for that. So believe it or not, so dime a dozen ideas, everyone's got them. So many people have had a great idea, and they say that everybody has a multi-million-dollar idea in their life. It's just that people can't execute them. So selling that vision, getting those motivated people on board, making sure that you're solving a problem. Don't go out and just create a new flavor of bubblegum. Solve a problem, make sure that it's faster, stronger, or cheaper, and make sure it's more accessible than what exists. Timing, and I cannot iterate and reiterate how important business intelligence and gathering data on whatever it is that you're building is in cultivating that idea. Don't just say, I've got a good idea, I think it'll work, and I'm just going to do it and waste a ton of money, time, and effort on it. Make sure that you've got the business intelligence to say you're on the right track, that the market's headed that way. So when we started, we looked at what's happened over the last 5 or 6 years, where's the technology likely to go next. And we looked at the dot-com boom. We looked at early Linux and what that needed to be successful, like a Red Hat, hence RedFOX. So it's extremely important that you've done your research. And as we said, if you're not embarrassed, then you're too late. Dirty MVP, don't worry about it being too polished. Get it out there, family, friends, test it, see whether or not it has the same reaction that you expect it to have on a group of people that you trust their opinion on. Look at the engagement, look at the usage, look at whether they're coming back, look at the actual data, listen to that feedback, make sure that you're taking that into consideration, make sure that you're acting on that feedback. And then that's why getting the MVPs out, especially in emerging technology, no one knows where it's going. Get out early, build as fast as you can. Don't be afraid to fail fast. And always establish that product market fit. Do not pump tons of money into marketing or scaling before you've hit those inflection points and you've actually made sure that you've got a proper product market fit. Unless you've got that, don't bother going down the path of pumping in tons of time, effort, money and attention, thinking that marketing will just bring the traction that you didn't get when you were using those the test groups and the focused user groups. Okay, so that's the I know it's a lot to digest, but that's probably the best starting point for you if you're looking at cultivating those values.
Awesome. That was fantastic, Ben. I had a question for you. So
Sure.
as an entrepreneur, especially with what you've done and what you've built out, when people are like, what is the metaverse even? What are you even talking about?
Yes.
What was what you would consider your biggest challenge during this 4-year journey, and how did you overcome that?
I think the biggest challenge was articulating what it was, because there was no reference points for it. But if I wanted to give an example that will be applicable to a wider audience, it would be that the biggest challenge we had to overcome was the majority of people that we spoke to were saying we're wrong, that the market isn't headed in this direction. And the thing is, when you've got a lot of data to back that up, I always say to my team that it's like there's a light at the end of every tunnel, but not every tunnel's straight. Sometimes they go around a corner and you can't see that light, and you just have to trust the system, and you have to make sure that you've got your handrails and that you're there supporting each other, because there'll be lots of dark days and there'll be days where you're thinking, are we headed in the right direction? So you look for the little wins, you look for the validation, you look for the news article or the mention of, or someone pumping money into a technology sector that feeds into what you're doing. So you look for little validations along the way. And don't get really put off by people that are not understanding the vision or the idea. We wouldn't have anything truly innovative built in this world if everybody had the exact same thought process.
Exactly. One of the things I put in the chat, back to your point about data. Data is like the company gold, right? There's
Yes.
nothing more important, really. The other thing that came to my mind, I know that as we chatted earlier, you have a broad global team that has grown exponentially in the space of just about a year. So in our new world, in our hybrid world, global team, lots of different countries, how are you sort of maintaining the culture? So it's not only building the culture when you have a very dispersed team, but also post-COVID and in the startup world. So you have like all three, the triple whammy.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the thing is that we've come from customer experience and cultural change management backgrounds. So one of the things we put in very early, and again, we were told you shouldn't do that so early. We started from the very beginning when we had 4 or 5 people, right through to now that we've got 110 plus and we're still hiring. What we do is every single week we put out a survey, and that survey is for everybody in the company, and we get about a 96% completion rate. And that is against the 5 core values of our company. And we do 2 parts. We say rate yourself against the 5 core values of the company, and then rate the company, how it's displayed itself in the public eye and in your interactions against its 5 values. And the wonderful thing about it is we've always had the individual scores lower than the company scores, which means that we don't have a company full of people that say, I'm so good and the company's terrible. What we've got is a company full of people saying the company is better at displaying the values than I am as a person. And then we make a promise that every week they write in as individuals, this is what I'm going to do to improve in the following week, and then re-rate every week. So that's been extremely important, because every company we've ever worked in and done turnarounds for, nobody in the company knows what the values are. Nobody understands them. They're just words on a wall.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think,
Just tick the box.
yeah, exactly. So I think that the culture side of things, that's made it, what's really difficult is that we've got people across 15 countries. They work different time zones and hours, and you're supervising people that are working across 6 or 7 different industry types. So you don't even know whether these people are good at what they do in their particular industry set. So having very good structure and process, which we're putting in place now, and having strong OKRs and strong leaders in those industry types is very important.
And
But
the idea, oh, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
all I was going to say is, but culturally, it's extremely important that we're doing the best we can to make sure that these people are working together, sharing common goals. They're as cross-functional as they can be. And a lot of our teams never even met each other yet in person. And we're just sort of doing that now as COVID's starting to sort of back off a bit.
Well, that's amazing. Well, you know, the 96% response rate, I'm just flabbergasted by that. Now, I do see we have 1 minute and we have one question in the chat, and I don't know, Ben, what you can do on this, but how do you respond to your competitors? Or maybe even who are your competitors, if there is one? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have direct competitors in the overall offering, but we do in each part.
Yeah.
What we do is we try and say, we let the others' benchmark for success be our benchmark for mediocrity. And what we say is, we want to lead. We don't want to follow. We don't want to participate at the same level. We want to work out where the road's going, not where it is, and build for what's coming next. And then we do as much as we can to survive now, but we're building for that longer term vision.
Well, I'll tell you a fun fact that you may not know yet, Ben. I'm definitely going to have you come and speak at one of our Executive Council Network events, just so you know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great discussion. What your journey is so incredible, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your success. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
See you. Thank you. Bye-bye.